Good day, everyone. For today's discussion, we're going to be talking about the traits and purposes of technical writing. And here are the objectives. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to describe the traits of a technical writer, develop the traits of a technical writer, and demonstrate the ability to know the purposes of technical writing. So let's first talk about the traits of technical writing. So the first one is clarity. Did you know that in technical writing, clarity is mandatory? In fact, it is the most important criteria for effective technical writing. If the audience responds to a memo, letter, report, or manual with, huh? Then what does the writer accomplish? If the correspondence is not clearly understood, then the reader will either call the writer for further clarification or just ignore the information. In either case, the writer's time is wasted. The reader's time is wasted as well, and the message is lost. Clarity, however, is not just a time concern. Think of it from this perspective. Your company has written an installation manual for a product. The manual, unfortunately, is not clear. When the reader fails to understand the content, three negative outcomes may occur. First, there's a possibility for it to be bad, since the equipment might be damaged, and this might require the owner to ship the equipment back, and the company might replace the equipment, costs accrue, and public relations might be frayed. It might get worse when the owner gets hurt, or if it leads to pain, anxiety, doctor bills, and bad public relations. And it might get even worse when the company gets sued. It might lead to money loss, and the writer of the manual might lose his job, and the public relations might be severed. So let's try to read this memo and observe how flawed it is written. So, date March 5, 2004, to Michelle Fields from Earl Eddings, subject meeting. And here's what it says. Please plan to prepare a presentation on sales. Make sure the information is very detailed. Thanks. So, this memo is written by a manager to a newly hired employee. And by looking at how flawed it is written, it can make us realize that clarity is indeed important. Nothing is clear in this memo, and the reasons are obvious. The manager has failed to answer the reporter's questions, which include who? Who is the audience? Who will know what? Will the audience know a great deal? Will they know a little about the topic? Or will they know nothing about the topic? What? What do you plan to do? What do you want the audience to do? And what do you want to know? When? When should the job be completed? What's the turnaround time? What's the timeable and what's the desired schedule? When do you need an answer? Where? Where will the work take place? Why? Why is the task being undertaken? Why is the desired date important? And how? How should the task be performed? What is the preferred procedure? So what additional information should the writer have included for clarity? Well, using the writer's question checklist as a previewing tool, the previous memorandum could be revised to achieve greater clarity. And here is an example of a revised memorandum. Date March 5, 2004, to Michelle Fields from Earl Eddings, subject sales staff meeting. And here's what it says. Please make a presentation on improved sales techniques for our sales staff. This meeting is planned for March 18, 2004 in Conference Room C from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our quarterly sales are down 27%. Thus, we need to help our staff accomplish the following: make new contacts, close deals more effectively, and earn a 40% profit margin on all sales. Use your new multimedia presentation system to make your presentation. With your help, I know our company can get back on track. Thanks. Much better, right? Clarity can be achieved through specificity. When answering questions, some fill the responses with too much words. but all words are not equal. Words like some, several, many, few, frequently, often, substantial, or recently will take up space on the page and convey an impression. And these connotative words will not mean the same thing to everyone. Try to imagine this. If a memo sent to 6 employees states that the company has lost a substantial amount of business, will all employees acquire the same knowledge? Well, one might assume that a substantial loss is equal to $1,000. Another might assume that a substantial loss is equal to 12 clients. In each case, the employees are guessing, and that is not the goal of successful technical writing. In contrast to mystery stories which seek to create suspense, technical writing must be clear, and the ultimate goal of effective technical writing is to say the same thing to multiple readers. Now let's talk about conciseness. Try to read this paragraph taken from an actual business correspondence. In order to facilitate an efficient meeting and fuel thought processes prior to June 25, I want to provide you with a brief overview of discussions recently carried out at the director and manager level within the process. These discussions involve personnel from accounts payable, information services, procurement or material management, financial systems, and property accounting, centering on a proposed framework for managing process improvement moving forward. After reading the letter, did you understand it? Or did you remember anything? Well, successful technical writing should help the reader understand the text and not present challenges to understanding. This paragraph is not successful writing. It fails to communicate clearly because it is too long-winded. Now you might ask, isn't it the responsibility of the reader to figure it out? Nope. The responsibility is with the writer. Here is why. If an individual reads literature, it is his or her responsibility to understand the writing, since creative writers seek to challenge us. However, technical writing is not literature. We read technical writing because it is a job requirement. Technical writing must fit in the box, meaning to say, good technical writing is concise. It is a tool for the readers to use to accomplish whatever job they are doing. In contrast to traditional essays, effective technical writing uses short words and short sentences. Conciseness has unique importance in technical writing. Where is the user manual for your car? It's inside that globe compartment, right? In other words, that piece of very complex technical writing had to be written concisely enough to fit inside a specific size box. And the content took a backseat, so to speak, to the user manual's predetermined location within the car. Here's another example. What is the perfect length of a resume? 1 page, of course. And guess what? That's a box. We have decided that a great resume should fit inside a typical 8 by 11 piece of paper. Now, think about the size of an email screen. Yes, the box is shrinking. A typical email screen measures about 3 by 6, and a Palm Pilot monitor is about 2 by 2. Your cell phone monitor is 1 by 1, and the page monitor is closer to 1/4 by 1.5. In each instance, the writer has less and less room to write. Successful technical writing tries to avoid multisyllabic words such as multisyllabic. How many syllables are there? 5. So that's what we're trying to avoid in technical writing as much as possible. Conciseness is achieved through short words. It is very important to teach our students in using 1 or 2 syllables as much as possible. Of course, some multisyllabic words cannot be changed. We cannot replace engineer, telecommunications, or internet. Other words, however, can be avoided. So here in this table, let's try to change long words to short words. So cognizant can be changed to know, endeavor to try, domicile to home, morbidity to death, and terminate to end. Here is an unsuccessful example of technical writing. In order to successfully accomplish their job function, the team has been needing more workspace for some time now. An improved sentence would read, "The team needs more workspace to do its job." As you can see, the first sentence has 20 words and 28 syllables. The second sentence, on the other hand, only contains 10 words and 10 syllables. Definitely, the second one is much better. What about this one? Why say the used car will cost a sum of $1,000 when it's more concise to say the used car will cost $1,000? In this instance, the sum of is redundant, so we should avoid that. So the following examples replace redundancy with concise revisions. So here in this table, let's try to change wordy sentences to less wordy sentences. Instead of saying we collaborated together on the project, we can just simply say we collaborated on the project. So we remove the word together since it is already obvious in the word collaborated that you were together with other people. Next, this is a brand new innovation. We can change it to this is an innovation. So there's no need to say that it's brand new since the word innovation already says it all. And the last one, the other alternative is to eat soup. So let's change it to the alternative is to eat soup. No need to say other because it's no longer needed since the word alternative is already there. In technical writing, we should also avoid prepositional phrases as much as possible because they create wordy sentences. Try to consider these following examples. Instead of saying he drove at a rapid rate, we can just simply say he drove rapidly. So instead of using the prepositional phrase at a rapid rate, we can just use a single adverb, which is rapidly, to make it simpler. In the second sentence, I will see you in the near future, we can just simply say, I will see you soon. So instead of using the prepositional phrase in the near future, we can just use the adverb of time, soon. And in the last sentence, I am in receipt of your email message requesting an increase in pay. So instead of saying that, we can just simply say, I received your email message requesting a pay raise. Much better. Moving on, try to compare these two sentences. The window was broken by the boys versus the boys broke the window. So what do you notice? Well, the first sentence is written in passive voice while the second one is written in active voice, right? And here's another thing that you can notice. The first sentence contains 7 words and the weak verb was. In contrast, the second sentence contains 5 words and the strong verb broke. The emphasis is placed on the individuals, which are the boys, rather than on an inanimate object window. In technical writing, we try to avoid the usage of passive voice because its construction is weaker for at least 2 reasons. First, they are wordy. Second, they replace strong verbs with weak verbs. So let's try to examine these other examples. Instead of saying, it is my decision to run for office, we can just simply say, I decided to run for office. Why say there are 16 people who tried out for the basketball team when you can just say 16 people tried out for the basketball team? Instead of saying the computer was purchased by Tom, just say Tom purchased the computer. Now let's move on to the third trait of technical writing, which is accessible document design, also known as page layout, or the way the text looks on the page. So let's try to read this paragraph. Regarding part number 315564-000, we received 541 units of wafer number 3206-2. These were rejected. For the same part number, we received 643 units of wafer number 3206-4. These were accepted. 329 units of wafer number 3205-5 from the same part number. These were accepted. Next, 344 of part number 315564-000's wafer number 3206-6 were accepted. However, the 140 units of wafer number 3206-5, same part number, were rejected. Finally, all 905 units of wafer number 3206-8 were rejected. This also were from part number 315564-00. That was a long one. If we would try to count the number of words that I just read, the paragraph consists of 84 words and 10 sentences. Multiple words turn off readers, right? And the average number of words per sentence is only 8.4. Because the sentences are too long, the writing is not concise. Next, the text is clear due to the specificity of details. However, despite the clarity and conciseness, the writing fails. Why? Essentially, this paragraph is unintelligible. The page layout makes it nearly impossible for the readers to understand the text. In order to solve the problem, highlighting techniques can be used to make the text open, airy, and inviting. Using highlighting techniques like tables, headings, and subheadings, different font sizes, column lines, and white space can make it a lot easier to understand. Just like this one. Much better, right? Now let's proceed to the fourth trait of technical writing, which is audience recognition. Who is writing to whom? What does the audience know, need to know, and want to know? When your audience fails to understand the text, you have failed to communicate. Successful technical writers know that they can only achieve clarity by recognizing their audiences. Basically, our students will write to either high-tech peers, low-tech peers, or lay readers. These three audience levels have the following traits. High-tech peers know as much about a subject matter as you. They have the same job title, same education, same years of experience, and same level of expertise. For example, a medical doctor writing to another medical doctor would be writing high-tech to high-tech. Low-tech peers, on the other hand, work in your company and they know something about the subject matter. They may not have the same job title, education, years of experience, or level of expertise. For example, a medical doctor writing to a staff nurse would be writing high-tech to low-tech. And the last one, we have lay readers. They are your customers. They are completely out of the loop. For example, a medical doctor communicating with a patient. Writing successfully to these three types of audiences requires different techniques. When writing to a high-tech peer, one can use acronym and abbreviations, usually without any definition. For example, educators are familiar with EDD, NEA, and RPT, but individuals in other fields would assume that NEA meant National Endowment for the Arts and not National Education Association. For low-tech peers, let's have accountants, for example. So they do not need their high-tech peers to define FIFO or CPR. If these accountants write to one of their fellow employees in sales, computer technology, or human resources, which are known as low-tech peers, these high-tech terms must be explained. FIFO could be parenthetically defined as first in, first out, while CPR, which everyone assumes means cardiopulmonary resuscitation, in fact means continuing property records, something that only accountants understand. Now let's talk about lay readers. Whereas high-tech readers do not need acronyms or abbreviations defined, and low-tech readers need a parenthetical definition, lay readers want to avoid the confusion completely. All they want is the definition, no abbreviations or acronyms. In fact, they might also need follow-up explanations. For instance, why would a homeowner in a residential area want to be told by a local authority, "You are in great danger of DBPs"? And the homeowner would be like, "What? What in the world is DBPs?" Well, these lay readers do not even want to be told, you are in danger of disinfection by products. What? Disinfection by product? What in the world is that? Instead, the lay reader wants to be told that their nearby streams contain high acid, chlorine, and ammonia levels. In achieving audience recognition, this table might help. When it comes to high-tech peers, abbreviation or acronym is used. For example, please review the enclosed OP and EN. So even without explanation, high-tech peers already know what that means. And for low-tech peers, abbreviation or acronym needs parenthetical definition. For example, please review the enclosed OP or operational procedure and EN or engineering notice. And for lay readers, no abbreviation or acronym is needed, but just explanations. For example, by following the enclosed operating procedure, you can ensure that your printer will run to our engineers' desired performance levels. Now let's proceed to the fifth trait of technical writing, which is accuracy. Effective technical writing must be correct, whether grammatically, mathematically, electronically, etc. Errors in technical writing make the company and the employee look bad. More importantly, errors can lead to damages, injuries, lawsuits, and just embarrassment and misunderstandings. Students must understand the importance of proofreading. We may ask them to try these proofreading techniques. Number 1. Use the computer's spell check. Remember, however, that a spell check will not catch form if you mean from, to if you mean to, as in TOO, or accept if you mean accept. Number 2, let it sit. For a day or a weekend, when the document is cold, students are more objective about their own writing. Number 3, use peer evaluations, and others will see the errors we missed. Number 4, read it aloud. Sometimes we can hear errors. And number 5, read it backwards. Then you read words out of the context. You cannot anticipate the next word. So here is a poem with a lot of spelling errors. So let's try to find them as we try to read it. I have a spelling checker. It came with my PC. It plainly remarks for my review mistakes I cannot see. I've run this poem through it. I'm sure you're pleased to know it's letter perfect in its way. My checker told me so. So how many spelling errors did you find? Let's try to box them one by one. Here we have see, through, no, it's, way, and sue. Now let's try to correct them. So let's change this one to C as in SEE. This one to through. This one should be no as in no through your mind. This one should be it's with apostrophe because it's wrong to use the possessive case of it's. This one should be way as in WAY, and this one should be so as in SO. Now let's proceed to the purposes of technical writing. Number 1, it gives information that leads to accomplishment of specific tasks and in the making of needed decisions. For example, technical writing gives information on what to do during a storm or earthquake, or how to use devices to avoid fire, or how to operate a new appliance or equipment like the latest model of an LCD projector using the PowerPoint. Number 2, technical writing analyzes events and their implications, the failure of certain systems as educational, socioeconomic, political, and the needed changes. For example, it can help us on how to save the dying rivers of the country, like Laguna Lake. Number 3, technical writing persuades and influences decision by showing how a business or an industry succeeds because of just and fair treatment of labor. For example, it can help on how an agency like the DSWD can improve the social problems of the country. And that's it for today's discussion. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned a lot.